Chapter 1. The wrong number. I should have been more careful. That's what I thought later, when it was already too late, when his name was already burned into my phone screen, when his voice had already wrapped around my throat like silk and steel. But in that moment, sitting on the cold bathroom floor of my apartment at 2 a.m. with mascara streaking down my face and my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold my phone, I wasn't thinking about being careful. I was thinking about how badly I needed someone to hear me. The text was meant for my best friend, Sarah. I can't do this anymore. I'm so tired. Everything's falling apart and I don't know how to fix it. Simple words that felt like they were being ripped from somewhere deep in my chest. My finger hovered over the send button for only a second before I pressed it, desperate for anyone to tell me it would be okay. The response came faster than I expected. Send location. Now. I blinked at the screen, confusion cutting through the fog of my breakdown. Sarah would have said something like, "On my way, babe," or, "What happened?" Not this. Not a command that felt like it came from someone used to being obeyed without question. My stomach dropped as I scrolled up and saw the contact name. Unknown number. Shit, I whispered, my voice cracking in the silence of my bathroom. I must have grabbed the wrong contact when my vision was blurred with tears. My fingers flew across the screen, trying to type out an apology. Sorry, wrong number. Didn't mean to. My phone buzzed before I could finish. Location. You have 10 seconds. I slid down my spine. This wasn't right. Normal people didn't respond like this. Normal people said no problem or hope you're okay and moved on with their lives. They didn't issue ultimatums to strangers having breakdowns at 2 a.m. I said I'm sorry. Just delete the message. 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. 9 seconds. My heart hammered against my ribs. Who was this person? Some kind of control freak? A creep who got off on scaring vulnerable women in the middle of the night? My thumb moved to block the number, but another text came through before I could. I don't repeat myself, Angel. If you're in trouble, I need to know where you are. If you're not, you need to tell me that. 8 seconds. Angel. The word sent a strange shiver through me that I didn't want to examine. There was something wrong about this entire situation. Something that made my instincts scream at me to throw my phone across the room and pretend this never happened. But there was also something about the texts that didn't feel like a threat, exactly. More like certainty. Like this person had dealt with real trouble before and knew how to handle it. Like if I actually was in danger, they would know what to do. I'm not in trouble, just had a bad night. Really, I'm fine. The response was immediate. You don't text strangers at 2 a.m. saying you can't do this anymore if you're fine. My breath caught. He wasn't wrong, and the fact that he'd actually read what I said, actually absorbed it instead of just dismissing it or getting angry at the intrusion, made something crack open in my chest. Just a breakup, I typed, though it was so much more than that, and some work stuff, life stuff. You know, I don't know. Tell me. I stared at the screen. This was insane. I was sitting on my bathroom floor at 2 a.m, having a conversation with a complete stranger about my life falling apart. I should absolutely not continue this. I should block the number, call Sarah with my actual fingers this time, and forget this ever happened. Instead, I found myself typing. Lost my job 3 days ago. Boyfriend cheated with my coworker, turns out that's why I lost the job. His new girlfriend is my boss. Rent's due in a week and I have $300 in my bank account. My mom won't stop calling to tell me I'm disappointing her. And I'm so tired of trying to hold everything together when it keeps falling apart anyway. I hit send before I could stop myself, then immediately wanted to die of embarrassment. What was I doing? Trauma dumping on a stranger who'd probably been trying to sleep before I'd accidentally invaded his life with my disaster? The 3 dots appeared. Stayed. I watched them bounce for what felt like an eternity, each second making me regret my entire existence a little bit more. Give me a name. I frowned at the screen. What? The boyfriend. Give me his name. A laugh bubbled up in my throat, half hysterical, half something else entirely. Why? You gonna send him a strongly worded text? Something like that? There was something in those 3 words that made my skin prickle with awareness. Something dark and certain and absolutely serious. Like he wasn't joking at all. Like he was actually asking me if I wanted this person dealt with. Who are you? I typed, my heart suddenly racing for completely different reasons. Someone who doesn't like when beautiful women cry alone at night. You don't know what I look like. I know you're beautiful. Heat flooded my face. This was crazy. This was absolutely, completely insane. I should block this number right now and never think about it again. I should go, I typed instead, standing up on shaky legs. Give me your name first. Why? Because I want to know what to call you when I think about you tomorrow. My breath stopped in my chest. The words shouldn't have affected me the way they did, shouldn't have sent warmth pooling low in my stomach or made my pulse quicken in my throat. But they did. God help me. They did. Amelia, I finally typed. My name is Amelia. Beautiful name for a beautiful woman. Good night, Amelia. Sleep well. I waited for something else. Another message. Another command or question or darkly compelling statement. But nothing came. Just those words, hanging in the silence of my bathroom like a promise or a threat or maybe both. I climbed into bed with my phone clutched against my chest, unable to shake the feeling that I'd just stepped off the edge of something dangerous. I had no idea how right I was. Chapter 2. The morning after I woke up to 17 missed calls from my mother, and one text from an unknown number. How did you sleep, Angel? My heart did something stupid in my chest, a flutter that had no business being there for words on a screen from a man whose face I'd never seen. I stared at the message for a full minute, my thumb hovering over the keyboard while my rational brain fought with whatever reckless part of me had decided last night's conversation was a good idea. It wasn't. I knew it wasn't. I typed back anyway. Better than I expected. You? 3 dots appeared immediately, like he'd been waiting for my response. I don't sleep much. Spent most of the night thinking about you instead. Heat crept up my neck. This was dangerous territory, flirting with a stranger who'd somehow commanded my location like he had the right to it, who'd asked for my ex's name like he actually intended to do something about it. Every self-preservation instinct I had screamed at me to stop this now, before it became something I couldn't control. You don't even know me, I sent. I know you're loyal. You lost your job because of someone else's betrayal, not your own mistakes. I know you're proud you're worried about rent, but you haven't asked your mother for help, even though she keeps calling. I know you're stronger than you think, because you're still standing when most people would have crumbled. I sat up in bed, my pulse racing. How had he gotten all of that from one desperate text and a brief conversation? It was like he'd seen through my words into something deeper, something I hadn't even said out loud. That's a lot of assumptions, I typed, my hands trembling slightly. Am I wrong? No, he wasn't wrong at all. And that terrified me more than anything else. My phone rang before I could respond. Unknown number. The same one. I should not answer it. I should absolutely, definitely not answer it. I swiped to accept the call. Hello? My voice came out smaller than I wanted it to. Amelia. His voice was exactly what I'd imagined and nothing like it at the same time. Deep and smooth, with an edge of command that made something low in my stomach tighten. There was an accent there too subtle, refined. Italian, maybe. I wanted to hear your voice. This is crazy, I whispered, but I didn't hang up. I don't even know your name. Dante. The name rolled off his tongue like a caress and a threat. And you're right. This is crazy. You should hang up right now, block this number, and forget we ever spoke. Then why did you call me? Silence stretched between us, heavy with something I couldn't name. When he finally spoke, his voice was lower, almost rough. Because I've built an empire on making smart decisions, and calling you is the first truly stupid thing I've done in 10 years. But I can't seem to stop myself. My breath caught. What kind of empire? The kind you're better off not knowing about, Angel. There was a smile in his voice now, dark and knowing. What are you doing today? The change of subject threw me. I don't know. Job hunting, I guess. Avoiding my mother's calls. The usual unemployment activities. Have breakfast with me. My heart stopped. What? Breakfast. There's a cafe in your neighborhood, Stella's, on 5th Street. Meet me there in an hour. How do you know where I live? The question came out sharper than I intended, fear finally cutting through the strange spell he'd woven around me. You mentioned rent was due. I looked up recent employment terminations in the city and cross-referenced with apartment complexes in areas where a single woman in her mid-20s might live alone. Stella's was in 3 of the 5 possibilities. He said it so casually, like this was perfectly normal behavior. I'm at all 5 locations. Right now. Ice flooded my veins. You're what? I have people at each cafe. The moment you agree, I'll know which one to go to. The others will leave. This was insane. This was actually insane. He'd stationed people at 5 different locations just on the chance I might agree to meet him. How many people did he have at his disposal? What kind of person could mobilize that kind of operation overnight? The kind you're better off not knowing about. I should hang up, I breathed, but my hand was already reaching for my closet. Yes, you should. His voice dropped lower, intimate and dangerous. But you won't. You want to know who I am. You want to see if I'm as dangerous as you think I am. And you want someone to look at you like you matter again. Tears pricked at my eyes because he was right. God, he was so right it hurt. How do I know you're not some creep who's going to hurt me? You don't. He was quiet for a moment. But I'll tell you this, Amelia. If I wanted to hurt you, I already know where you live. I already know you're alone. I could have done whatever I wanted last night instead of asking you to breakfast. The fact that I'm giving you a choice should tell you something. It did. It told me he was either genuinely interested or a very patient predator. But somehow, in the morning light streaming through my window, with his voice in my ear and my heart pounding against my ribs, I found myself nodding. 1 hour. Stella's on 5th. I'll be waiting. I could hear the smile in his voice. Wear something that makes you feel beautiful. He hung up before I could respond. I stood there for a long moment, phone pressed against my chest, wondering what the hell I'd just agreed to. Every rational thought told me to stay home, to block his number, to call the police and report him for. What? Asking me to breakfast? Caring about how I slept? But there was something else too. Something that had woken up inside me during our conversation last night, a part of me that had been sleeping for so long I'd forgotten it existed. The part that craved danger and intensity and someone who looked at me like I was worth mobilizing 5 separate teams for. I pulled out my black dress, the one that hugged my curves and made me feel powerful instead of broken. If I was going to make a stupid decision, I was going to look damn good doing it. 53 minutes later, I stood outside Stella's cafe, my heart in my throat. 4 black SUVs with tinted windows lined the street. I was so far out of my depth I couldn't even see the surface anymore. The cafe door opened, and a man stepped out. Everything stopped. Chapter 3. The Devil in a Suit. He was beautiful in the way dangerous things are beautiful, like a blade catching light, like a storm rolling in across dark water. Tall, easily over 6 feet, with shoulders that filled out his black suit like it had been tailored to his body by someone who understood that clothing could be a weapon. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble-sharp jawline, high cheekbones, and eyes so dark they were almost black. But it was the way he moved that stole my breath. Controlled. Precise. Like every step was calculated. Like violence lived just beneath his skin, waiting for permission to surface. He stopped 3 feet away from me, and I forgot how to breathe. Amelia. My name on his lips sounded like a prayer and a sin. Those dark eyes swept over me, taking in every detail with an intensity that made me feel naked despite being fully clothed, even more beautiful than I imagined. Dante. I was proud, my voice didn't shake. You're not what I expected either. A smile curved his lips, slow and predatory. What did you expect? Someone older. Someone. I gestured vaguely at the SUVs lining the street. Less like you. Disappointed? He stepped closer, and I caught his scent, expensive cologne layered with something darker, something that made my pulse quicken. Terrified, I admitted, because there was no point in lying to a man who'd somehow read my entire life story from a single desperate text. His expression softened slightly, just for a moment. Good. Fear means you're smart. He offered his arm. But have breakfast with me anyway. I should have run. Should have turned around and disappeared into the morning crowd and never looked back. Instead, I slipped my hand into the crook of his elbow and let him guide me into the cafe. The moment we entered, every conversation stopped. Every eye turned toward us, not curious, but wary. The kind of wariness people have around apex predators. Dante didn't seem to notice or care. He led me to a corner booth that had somehow been kept empty despite the morning rush, and when he held out a chair for me, his hand brushed my lower back. Heat shot through me at the contact. You're staring, he murmured as he sat across from me, amusement dancing in those dark eyes. You mobilized 5 separate teams overnight for a woman whose name you didn't even know 12 hours ago. I think I've earned the right to stare. He leaned back in his chair, studying me with that same unsettling intensity. You texted me during a breakdown. You were vulnerable, possibly in danger. I don't take chances with things that matter. I don't matter to you. You don't know me. Don't I? He tilted his head slightly. You take your coffee black because you think adding cream and sugar is a weakness. You haven't eaten properly in 3 days because when you're stressed, food becomes another thing to control. You bit your nails in the car on the way here, you just painted them yesterday to look more pulled together. But anxiety always wins. And you're wearing that dress because you needed armor for this meeting, not because you actually like it. My blood ran cold. How could you possibly? Your cuticles are inflamed. There's dried coffee on your phone case but no residue from cream. You've lost weight. Recently I can see it in your collarbone. And you keep tugging at the hem of your dress like it doesn't fit quite right anymore. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to something intimate and dangerous. I notice everything, Amelia, especially things that matter. I still don't understand why I matter. My voice came out barely above a whisper. A waitress appeared before he could answer, but she didn't ask for our order. She simply set down 2 espressos, a plate of pastries, and scrambled eggs with toast, then disappeared without a word. Like she'd known exactly what to bring. Like Dante had already arranged it. Eat, he commanded softly. I'm not hungry. I know. Eat anyway. His eyes held mine, and I found myself picking up the fork. Your ex-boyfriend's name is Marcus Chen. He's been sleeping with Jennifer Hartley for 6 months. She got promoted to your supervisor 3 weeks ago specifically so she could fire you and eliminate the awkwardness of the situation. He moved into her apartment last week. The fork clattered from my hand. How do you know that? I had someone look into it after our conversation. He said it like it was the most natural thing in the world. He's also been using your Netflix account and charging drinks to a credit card you co-signed for. Would you like me to handle it? Handle it how? But even as I asked, I knew. I could see it in his eyes, the cold calculation, the absolute certainty that he could make Marcus disappear if I asked him to. However you want. He took a sip of his espresso, watching me over the rim. I have resources. What kind of resources require 4 SUVs full of armed men just to have breakfast? His smile was slow and dark. The kind that built an empire. Angel. The kind that keep empires standing. My heart hammered against my ribs. What kind of empire? The kind your mother warned you about. He set down his cup, his gaze never leaving mine. The kind that operates in shadows and makes problems disappear. The kind that owns half this city and influences the other half. I couldn't say it. Couldn't make it real by giving it a name. Careful, Amelia. His voice dropped to something almost gentle. Once you know the truth, you can't unknow it. Right now you can walk away. You can pretend this breakfast never happened and go back to your normal life. But if you ask me what I really am, if you hear me say it out loud, everything changes. I should have stood up, should have walked away and never looked back. But I'd spent my entire life being careful, being good, following the rules, and where had it gotten me? Broke, alone, and crying on a bathroom floor at 2 a.m. I leaned forward, my eyes locked on his. Tell me. Something dark and hungry flashed across his face. I run the Valentino family. Every casino, every club, every construction project in this city that moves money under the table, it flows through me. I'm the man your mother's worst nightmares couldn't imagine. And now that you know, you're mine to protect. The world tilted on its axis. I need to go, I breathed, standing on shaky legs. His hand shot out, catching my wrist, not rough, but firm, possessive. Sit. Down. And God help me, I did. Chapter 4, The Trap Closes. His thumb traced circles on the inside of my wrist, right over my racing pulse. He could feel it the way my heart was trying to beat out of my chest, the way fear and something far more dangerous twisted together in my veins. You're not a prisoner, Amelia. His voice was soft, almost gentle, but there was steel underneath. But you need to understand what just happened. The moment you walked into this cafe with me, people noticed. The moment you sat at my table, they started talking. And the second you walk out that door, everyone who wants to hurt me will know exactly how to do it. My mouth went dry. What are you saying? I'm saying you became a target the moment you became mine. He released my wrist but didn't lean back, keeping the space between us intimate and charged. I didn't plan this. I should have stayed away from you. But I didn't, and now we both have to live with the consequences. I'm not yours. But the words came out weak, unconvincing even to my own ears. His smile was dark and knowing. Keep telling yourself that, Angel. He gestured to the food. Eat. Then I'm taking you somewhere safe. I have an apartment. That's the first place they'll look. He said it so matter-of-factly, like people hunting me down was already a foregone conclusion. You have two choices. You can go home, pack a bag, and hope they don't get to you before I can secure the building. Or you can come with me now, and I'll have your things brought to you. This was insane. This was absolutely insane. 24 hours ago, my biggest problem was unemployment and a cheating ex. Now I was sitting across from a mafia boss who was telling me my life was in danger because I'd had breakfast with him. This isn't real, I whispered. This doesn't happen to people like me. It just did. He leaned forward, his dark eyes intense. Listen to me carefully. There are 3 families in this city who would love nothing more than to see me weak. You walked in here on my arm. You sat at my table, and by now, every one of them knows your name. They know where you live. They know you matter to me. But I don't matter to you. We just met. That's not how they'll see it. His jaw tightened. I haven't been photographed with a woman in 3 years. I don't have coffee in public. I don't hold chairs or touch lower backs or look at anyone the way I've been looking at you for the past 20 minutes. To them, you're leverage, and leverage always gets used. Fear crawled up my spine, cold and real. You're saying someone might try to hurt me to get to you? I'm saying someone will definitely try. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, then set it face down on the table. I have men positioned around your apartment building right now. The moment you give me permission, they'll go in, pack what you need, and bring it to my estate. You'll stay there until I neutralize the threat. How long will that take? Something dangerous flickered across his face. However long it takes me to make it clear that touching you means war. My hands trembled as I picked up my coffee cup. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. But the weight of his stare, the tension radiating from his body, the 4 SUVs outside filled with armed men. It was all very, terrifyingly real. What if I just leave the city? Disappear? They'll find you. He said it with absolute certainty. I have resources most people can't imagine, and I'm one of the good guys in this world. The people who want to hurt you? They're worse. Much worse. There has to be another option. There isn't. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing my cheek so gently it made my breath catch. I'm sorry, Amelia. I'm sorry I answered your text. I'm sorry I called you. I'm sorry I didn't have the strength to stay away. But I didn't, and now the only option is keeping you alive. Tears burned behind my eyes. This isn't fair. No, he agreed softly. It's not. Nothing about my world is fair. That's why I should have left you alone. His thumb traced my lower lip, and heat shot through me despite everything. But I'm a selfish bastard, and I wanted you the moment I read your words. So here we are. I pulled back from his touch, needing space to think, to breathe, to process the fact that my life had just been turned upside down by a man I'd known for less than a day. And if I refuse? If I just walk out of here and take my chances? His expression went cold, not angry, but distant, dangerous. Then I'll have you taken to my estate anyway. But at least this way, you're choosing it. That's not a choice. That's an ultimatum. Yes. He didn't apologize, didn't soften. I won't let you die because of my mistake, Amelia. Your pride, your anger, your fear, none of it matters more than your life. So you can come willingly and hate me from the safety of my home, or you can fight me and hate me from the safety of my home. Either way, you're leaving with me in 5 minutes. I stared at him. This beautiful, terrifying man who'd somehow crashed into my life and torn it apart. Part of me wanted to throw my coffee in his face and run. But a larger part, the part that had spent the night replaying our conversation, that had dressed carefully for this meeting, that had felt something wake up inside me when his voice had wrapped around my name, that part knew he was right. I was already in too deep. I need my laptop. And my photo albums, they're in a box under my bed. My voice came out steadier than I felt. And there's a necklace in my jewelry box. It was my grandmother's. Something flickered in his eyes, relief, maybe, or satisfaction. Done. Anything else? A promise. I met his gaze head on. Promise me that when this is over, when I'm not in danger anymore, you'll let me go. No threats, no ultimatums, just freedom. He was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes searching mine. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough. I promise that when you're safe, the choice will be yours. Stay or go, I won't stop you. It wasn't quite what I'd asked for, but it was close enough. Okay. I stood on shaky legs. Take me to your estate. He rose smoothly, offered his hand. Try not to look terrified. We're being watched. I took his hand, let him pull me close. I am terrified. Good. His lips brushed my ear as he guided me toward the door. Stay scared. It'll keep you sharp. Outside, one of the SUVs waited. The door opened, and Dante helped me inside before sliding in next to me. The moment the door closed, the vehicle pulled away from the curb, and 3 others fell into formation around us. I'd just agreed to move in with the Mafia boss. What the hell had I done? Chapter 5. Into his world. The estate wasn't what I expected. I'd pictured something ostentatious, gold fixtures and marble columns, the kind of gaudy wealth that screamed new money and criminal empire. Instead, the SUV pulled through iron gates into grounds that looked like they belonged to old European aristocracy. Manicured lawns stretched toward a stone mansion that was elegant rather than excessive, with tall windows that caught the morning light and ivy climbing ancient walls. It was beautiful, and that somehow made it worse. This has been in my family for 4 generations. Dante's voice pulled me from my thoughts. He hadn't let go of my hand since we'd left the cafe, his thumb still tracing absent patterns on my skin. My great-grandfather built it when he first came to America, back when our business was different. You mean legal? A dark smile curved his lips. I mean different. The SUV stopped in front of the main entrance, and immediately, men in dark suits appeared. Not threatening, but alert. Watching. These are my personal guards. They'll be stationed around the property at all times. You're safe here, Amelia. Safer than anywhere else in the city. The door opened, and he stepped out first, then turned to offer me his hand. I took it, stepping onto gravel that crunched beneath my heels. Every man we passed nodded respectfully to Dante, but their eyes tracked me with curiosity and something else, speculation, maybe. Wondering who I was and why I mattered. I wondered the same thing. Inside, the mansion was even more stunning. High ceilings, dark wood paneling, artwork that looked original and priceless. A grand staircase curved upward, and crystal chandeliers caught the light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. It smelled like old books and expensive cologne and something I couldn't quite place: legacy, maybe, history. Your things will arrive within the hour. Dante guided me through the foyer, his hand settling possessively on my lower back. Until then, let me show you where you'll be staying. We climbed the staircase, and I tried not to think about how his touch burned through the fabric of my dress, how my body responded to his proximity despite my mind screaming warnings. At the top, he led me down a hallway lined with portraits, his ancestors, I assumed. Dark-eyed men and elegant women, all of them beautiful, all of them looking like they'd held power and wielded it without mercy. He stopped at a door near the end of the hall. This is yours. The room took my breath away. Enormous, with a 4-poster bed draped in silk, an ensuite bathroom visible through an open door, and windows overlooking gardens that stretched toward distant woods. There was a sitting area with a fireplace, a walk-in closet, and details everywhere that spoke of careful thought: fresh flowers on the nightstand, books on the shelves, a soft throw blanket folded at the foot of the bed. It's beautiful, I whispered. It was my mother's room. His voice was quieter now, almost vulnerable. She died when I was 12. No one's used it since. I turned to look at him, and something in his expression made my heart clench. For just a moment, he wasn't the dangerous Mafia boss who'd commanded my presence and mobilized armed men. He was just a man who'd lost his mother too young and was offering me something precious. Dante, your bathroom is stocked. If you need anything else, there's a phone by the bed press one and someone will come. He stepped back, creating distance between us. I have business to handle. Make yourself comfortable. Don't leave the house. Wait. I caught his arm before he could turn away. You can't just bring me here and then disappear. I need answers. I need to understand what's happening. His jaw tightened. What do you want to know? Everything. I forced myself to hold his gaze. Who are these people who want to hurt me? Why do you think they'll come after me? And why did you answer my text in the first place? He was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes searching mine. Then he moved back into the room, closing the door behind him. The click of the lock made my pulse jump. The 3 families who run this city with me are the Morettis, the Russos, and the Costas. He leaned against the closed door, arms crossed. We have an understanding: territories, operations, codes we don't cross. But understanding isn't friendship. They'd take me down in a heartbeat if they saw weakness. And I'm weakness? Your leverage. His voice was flat, stating facts. Antonio Moretti lost his daughter 2 years ago. She was used against him by a rival family, and he still hasn't recovered. He knows that pain, and he'd use it on me without hesitation. The Russos are more tactical. They'd kidnap you, make demands, use you to gain territory or information. And the Costas, his expression darkened. They're animals. They'd hurt you just to send a message. Ice settled in my stomach. So bringing me here didn't make me safer. It just changed the threat. No. He pushed off the door, crossing to me in 3 long strides. Bringing you here made you untouchable. Every man on my estate would die before letting anyone reach you. Every alarm, every camera, every weapon, it's all between you and them now. His hands framed my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. You're safer here than you've been since the moment you sent that text. Then why does it feel like I'm in more danger than ever? His thumb traced my cheekbone. Because you are. Just not from them. My breath caught. From you? From this. His voice dropped to something rough and intimate. From whatever this is between us. From the fact that I haven't stopped thinking about you since I read your words. From the way you look at me like you can't decide if you want to run or stay. He leaned closer, his breath ghosting across my lips. You should be terrified. Of me, Amelia. I'm not a good man. I've done things that would make you sick. But when I heard the pain in your text, when I imagined you alone and hurting, something in me broke open that I'd kept locked away for years. What are you saying? I'm saying I answered your text because even though I knew it was a mistake, even though I knew it would put you in danger, I couldn't help myself. His forehead rested against mine. I'm saying that bringing you here was selfish. I'm saying that keeping you here, even to protect you, is selfish. Because the truth is, Amelia, I don't want to let you go. My heart hammered against my ribs. You promised. I promised you the choice would be yours when you're safe. And it will be. His lips brushed the corner of my mouth feather-light. But I'm not promising I won't do everything in my power to make you want to stay. Heat flooded through me, mixing with fear and confusion and something far more dangerous. He was too close, too intense, too everything. I should push him away. Should remind him that I was here because I had no choice, that wanting me didn't give him the right to keep me. But when his lips finally met mine, soft and demanding all at once, I didn't push him away. I kissed him back. And in that moment, I knew I was in far more danger than any rival family could ever pose. Because I was already falling for the devil who'd saved me. Chapter 6. Dangerous Truths. The kiss lasted only seconds, but it burned through me like wildfire. When Dante pulled away, his dark eyes were molten, his breathing unsteady. For a moment, he looked almost vulnerable, like he'd surprised himself as much as he'd surprised me. Then his mask slipped back into place, smooth and controlled. That shouldn't have happened. His voice was rough. No, I agreed, my lips still tingling. It shouldn't have. But neither of us apologized. He stepped back, running a hand through his hair in the first unguarded gesture I'd seen from him. I need to make some calls. Your things should be here soon. He moved toward the door, then paused with his hand on the knob. Amelia? Yes? Don't open the windows. Don't go near them. And if you hear anything at all that seems wrong, you hit that panic button by the bed and get into the bathroom. There's a reinforced safe room behind the mirror. Understand? The fear I'd been pushing down came roaring back. You think they'll come here? To your own estate? I think desperation makes people stupid. His jaw tightened. And I'm not taking chances with your life. He left before I could respond, the door clicking shut behind him. I heard the lock engage from the outside, and my stomach dropped. I was locked in. For my own protection, probably. But locked in nonetheless. I sank onto the edge of the bed, my mind spinning. 24 hours ago, I'd been broken and alone, crying on a bathroom floor. Now I was locked in a dead woman's bedroom, kissing a mafia boss who'd upended my entire life. Nothing made sense anymore. Nothing felt real. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out, half expecting another text from Dante. It wasn't. Unknown number. But not his. Does he know about Chicago? Ask him. See what he says. My blood ran cold. I stared at the message, my hands starting to shake. Chicago? What did that mean? And who was this? Another text came through. Or don't. Keep pretending you're safe in his golden cage. But know this, he's not the hero in this story. He's just a different kind of monster. I dropped the phone like it had burned me. This was wrong. Everything about this was wrong. How had someone gotten my number? How did they know I was here? And what the hell did Chicago mean? The door opened without warning, and I jumped. But it was just a woman late 50s, elegant, with kind eyes and an air of authority that reminded me of my grandmother. Miss Amelia? Her voice carried a slight Italian accent. I'm Maria. I manage the household. Your belongings have arrived. Behind her, 2 men carried in boxes and a rolling suitcase. My things, packed so quickly I hadn't even noticed them go. They set everything down and left without a word, and Maria gestured to the boxes with a gentle smile. Would you like help unpacking? No, thank you. I tried to keep my voice steady. Maria, can I ask you something? Of course, dear. How long have you worked for Dante? Her expression softened. I've been with the Valentino family for 32 years. I changed that boy's diapers, wiped his tears when his mother passed, and watched him grow into the man he is today. What kind of man is he? I asked quietly. Really? Maria studied me for a long moment. He's his father's son, strong, ruthless when he needs to be, willing to do terrible things for the people he loves. But he's also his mother's son. She taught him honor, loyalty, and that power means nothing if you don't use it to protect the weak. She moved closer, her voice dropping. He brought you here for a reason, Miss Amelia. And it's not just about protection. What do you mean? I mean, I haven't seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you since. She trailed off, something sad crossing her face. Well, in a very long time. Be careful with him, dear. He's more fragile than he appears. She left before I could ask what she meant, closing the door gently behind her. I sat there for several minutes, staring at my phone, at the messages that made no sense, at the warning from a stranger who somehow knew exactly where I was. Finally, I picked it up and did what I should have done immediately. I went to find Dante. The house was a maze, but I followed the sound of raised voices down the grand staircase, through a hallway lined with more portraits, to a set of heavy wooden doors. They were slightly ajar, and I could hear Dante's voice cold and commanding in a way that sent chills down my spine. I don't care what it costs. I want eyes on every property the Morettas own. Every warehouse, every club, every goddamn corner store. If Antonio so much as blinks in her direction, I want to know about it. Boss, that kind of surveillance is going to start a war. Another voice, younger, uncertain. Then we start a war. Dante's voice was flat, absolute. I've been too patient, too willing to maintain the peace. But they need to understand that she's off limits. Completely. Make the calls. Footsteps approached the door, and I barely had time to step back before it swung open. A man in his 30s emerged, saw me, and his eyes widened. Miss, it's fine. Dante appeared behind him, his expression unreadable. Leave us. The man disappeared quickly, and Dante stepped into the hallway, closing the door behind him. Up close, I could see the tension in his shoulders, the tightness around his eyes. He looked like a man preparing for battle. You shouldn't be wandering the house. His voice was carefully controlled. You locked me in. For your safety. I'm not a prisoner, remember? I held up my phone. I got these while you were gone. His expression darkened as he read the messages. When he looked up, something dangerous flickered in his eyes. When did these come through? 10 minutes ago, maybe less. I watched him carefully. Dante, what's Chicago? He went absolutely still. For 3 heartbeats, he didn't move, didn't breathe. When he finally spoke, his voice was ice. Where did you hear that name? The text. It asked if you'd told me about Chicago. Fear crawled up my spine at the look on his face. What does it mean? It means someone's trying to get in your head. He grabbed my arm, not rough, but firm. It means they're closer than I thought. Tell me what it means. No. Dante. I said no. His voice cracked like a whip. Some things you're better off not knowing, Amelia. Chicago is one of them. I jerked my arm free. You don't get to decide what I know. You brought me into this world, you don't get to keep me in the dark about it. I'm keeping you alive. His control finally snapped, raw emotion bleeding through. Chicago is why I don't sleep at night. It's why I built these walls so high. It's why I swore I'd never let anyone close again. And it's the reason why every person who threatens you will learn what happens when you cross Dante Valentino. The air between us crackled with tension and unspoken history. Whatever Chicago meant, it had broken something in him, something that maybe couldn't be fixed. I need to know, I whispered. If I'm going to stay here, if I'm going to trust you, I need to know what I'm dealing with. He stared at me for a long moment, war raging behind his eyes. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely audible. Chicago was her name, and she died because of me. Chapter 7. The Ghost Between Us. The confession hung in the air between us like smoke, thick, suffocating, impossible to ignore. Her name was Chicago? I asked quietly, trying to process the weight of what he'd just admitted. Cheyenne Costa. His voice was hollow, distant. We called her Chicago. She hated it at first, then decided it made her sound dangerous. A bitter smile flickered across his lips. She was anything but dangerous. She was soft and kind and completely wrong for my world. My stomach twisted. Costa. As in, Marco Costa's daughter. Yes. He moved past me, walking toward a window that overlooked the grounds. 5 years ago, before the territories were drawn, before the families agreed to coexist, we were at war. The Costas and Valentinos had been enemies for 3 generations. Blood for blood, territory for territory. It was endless. I watched his reflection in the glass, the rigid set of his shoulders, the way his hands curled into fists at his sides. I met her at a charity gala, neutral ground. She was wearing this red dress that made her look like fire, and she smiled at me like she didn't know who I was. Like I was just a man, not the heir to an empire built on violence. He paused, his voice dropping. We were both 23, both trying to escape our father's legacies for one night, both stupid enough to think we could. You fell in love with her. It wasn't a question. I fell in love with the idea of her, with the possibility that maybe I could be someone different, someone better. His laugh was harsh. We had 6 months. 6 months of stolen moments and secret meetings and pretending the world outside didn't exist. She thought love could bridge the gap between our families. She thought if we just showed them it was possible, they'd stop fighting. Dread settled in my chest. But they didn't. They found out. His voice turned to gravel. Someone saw us together, took photos, delivered them to both our fathers on the same day. Marco Costa didn't believe in love. He believed in loyalty and blood and tradition. To him, Chicago had betrayed everything. She'd slept with the enemy. She'd made him look weak. What did he do? Dante's reflection in the window was a mask of controlled anguish. He gave me a choice. End it publicly. Humiliate her in front of both families. Prove she meant nothing or he'd kill her himself. Make an example of what happens to traitors. My hand flew to my mouth. Oh God. I thought I could protect her. I had men, resources, plans to get her out of the city. But I underestimated how far he'd go. His voice cracked. They took her from her apartment 3 days before we were supposed to run. By the time I found her, it was too late. Tears burned behind my eyes. Dante. She died because she loved me. Because I was selfish enough to let her. He finally turned to face me, and the raw pain in his eyes nearly broke me. I burned everything the Costas owned to the ground. Started a war that lasted 2 years and left hundreds dead. And when it was over, when Marco Costa finally agreed to peace, I made him put it in writing a clause that if anyone in my life, anyone I cared about, was ever touched by his family, the treaty was void, and I'd finish what I started. That's why they'd use me. Understanding crashed over me like a wave. Because you care about me. Because I'm leverage. Because I'm stupid enough to care again. He moved toward me, his movements predatory and desperate all at once. I swore after Chicago that I'd never let anyone close, never give them ammunition. For 5 years I've been alone, cold, untouchable. And then you sent that text, and something in me just broke. You should have stayed away from me, but even as I said it, my heart rebelled against the words. I know. He stopped inches away, his presence overwhelming. I knew it the moment I answered. Knew it when I called you. Knew it when I stationed men at 5 different cafes just for the chance to see you. But I couldn't stop myself. Amelia, and now you're here, in danger, because I'm too weak to let you go. I'm not her. My voice came out stronger than I felt. I'm not some innocent girl who thinks love conquers all. I see what you are, Dante. I see the blood on your hands and the darkness in your soul, and I'm still terrified of what being close to you means. You should be. But I'm not leaving. The words surprised me as much as they surprised him. Not because you're holding me here. Not because I don't have a choice. But because whoever sent those texts wants me to doubt you, wants me to run. And I'm tired of running from everything in my life. Something fierce and possessive flashed across his face. They'll come for you. The moment they think you matter, let them come. I stepped closer, closing the distance between us. You said every man on this estate would die before letting anyone reach me. You said you'd start a war to keep me safe. So show me. Show me what it means to be under Dante Valentino's protection. His hands framed my face, thumbs tracing my cheekbones with devastating gentleness. You don't know what you're asking. Then, teach me. The kiss was different this time, not soft or questioning, but claiming. His mouth moved over mine with bruising intensity, like he was trying to brand himself into my soul. I kissed him back just as fiercely, pouring 5 years of his loneliness and my own desperate need into the space between our lips. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. I can't promise you safety, Amelia. Not complete safety. Not in my world. I know. I can't promise I won't make decisions that hurt you, that keep you locked in golden cages for your own protection. I know. And I can't promise that loving me won't destroy you the way it destroyed her. I pulled back enough to meet his eyes. But you can promise you'll fight for me, that you won't give up, that if they come, you'll show them exactly why crossing you was the last mistake they'll ever make. A dark, dangerous smile curved his lips. That, Angel, I can absolutely promise. His phone buzzed. He pulled it out, and I watched his expression shift from heat to cold fury in an instant. What is it? They found who sent you those texts. His voice was deadly calm. And you're not going to like it. Who? He showed me the screen. The name there made my blood run cold. Jennifer Hartley, my ex-boss. Marcus's new girlfriend. Impossible, I breathed. She's nobody. How would she even... She's Marco Costa's niece. Dante's eyes were black ice, and she just declared war. Chapter 8. War Games. The world tilted sideways. That's impossible. My voice sounded distant, not quite mine. Jennifer Hartley she's a middle manager at a tech startup. She wears cardigans and brings homemade cookies to meetings. She can't be related to a Mafia family. Hartley is her mother's maiden name. Her father is Marco Costa's younger brother. Dante's jaw was granite. She's been placed in that company for 3 years, waiting, watching. The moment Marcus mentioned you, a moment she saw an opportunity to get close to someone in my circle, she took it. But I'm not in your circle. We didn't even know each other until yesterday. They didn't know that. His eyes darkened. They saw you text an unknown number during a breakdown. They've been monitoring communications, looking for any vulnerability. When you accidentally reached me, when I responded, they must have traced it. Horror crawled through me. So firing me, sleeping with Marcus, all of it, was designed to break you down, make you vulnerable, isolated. He pulled me closer, his voice dropping to something lethal. They wanted you desperate enough to reach out to anyone. They just didn't expect you to reach me. My legs went weak. I sank onto a nearby chair, trying to process what he was telling me. Jennifer's been watching me for 3 years, waiting for me too. What? Have a breakdown? Waiting for an opportunity. Any opportunity. Dante crouched in front of me, his hands covering mine. The Costas have been looking for a way to get to me since Chicago died. They knew I'd isolated myself, kept everyone at arm's length. So they've been patient, planting people in companies, monitoring communications, waiting for me to show interest in anyone. And I gave them exactly what they wanted. Nausea rolled through me. I sent that text. I met you for breakfast. I came here. I basically painted a target on my own back. No. His voice was firm. They painted the target. They created the circumstances. This isn't your fault, Amelia. Then whose fault is it? Anger surged through the fear. Because my life was falling apart, and someone was orchestrating it? Someone was deliberately destroying everything so they could use me as leverage against a man I'd never even met? Yes. He didn't soften it, didn't try to make it easier. That's exactly what happened. I pulled my hands from his, standing abruptly. I want to talk to her. Absolutely not. She ruined my life, Dante. She took my job, my boyfriend, my stability. Also, she could use me as a pawn in some vendetta I didn't even know existed. My voice rose. I deserve to look her in the eye and ask her why. Because if you do, you give them exactly what they want. He stood, blocking my path to the door. They want you emotional. They want you reckless. They want you to make a mistake they can exploit. I don't care. I care. His hands gripped my shoulders, forcing me to meet his eyes. I care that you're angry and hurt, and looking for someone to blame. I care that you want answers. But I care more about keeping you alive, and that means you don't go anywhere near Jennifer Hartley or anyone connected to the Costa family. You can't keep me locked up forever. Watch me. There was no give in his voice, no room for negotiation. Until I neutralize this threat, until I make it clear that touching you means death, you stay here. In this house. Under my protection, non-negotiable. We stared at each other, the air crackling with tension and unspoken conflict. Part of me wanted to fight him, to demand my freedom, to refuse to be another woman locked away for her own protection. But another part, the part that had seen the pain in his eyes when he talked about Chicago, understood. He'd lost someone he loved because he wasn't careful enough, and he'd burn the world down before he let it happen again. Fine. I stepped back from his touch. But I want to know everything. No more secrets, no more protecting me from the truth. If I'm staying in your world, I need to understand all of it. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Come with me. He led me through the house, down hallways I hadn't seen before, to a door that required his fingerprint to open. Beyond it was a room that looked like something from a spy movie, monitors covering one wall, displaying feeds from dozens of cameras, maps spread across a large table in the center, filing cabinets lined another wall, and everywhere, papers with names, photos, connections drawn in red ink. This is my war room. Dante moved to the table, gesturing to the maps. Every red dot is Costa territory. Blue is Valentino. Green is Moretti. Yellow is Russo. The white spaces are neutral clubs, restaurants, businesses that pay tribute to all four families for the right to operate peacefully. I moved closer, taking it in. The city I knew was overlaid with invisible boundaries, carved up like a pie between criminal empires. How many people know about this? About how the city really works? More than you'd think. Less than you'd hope. He pulled out a file, opened it to reveal photos of Jennifer. Different locations, different times, always watching, always waiting. Marco Costa has been consolidating power since Chicago died. He's absorbed smaller families, expanded into legitimate businesses, and he's been patient. But patience has limits. What happens now? Now I send a message. His expression went cold, calculated. I've been maintaining the peace for 5 years because war is bad for business, but the Costas just violated the treaty. They targeted someone under my protection. That means the rules have changed. Fear and something darker twisted in my chest. What kind of message? He looked at me, and I saw the monster he kept hidden beneath the expensive suits and careful control. The kind written in blood. Dante, they need to understand what happens when they cross me. What happens when they threaten what's mine. He moved closer, his voice dropping. And you are mine, Emilia. Whether you want to be or not. Whether it's smart or safe or right. You became mine the moment I answered your text, and I will destroy anyone who tries to take you from me. The possessiveness should have scared me, should have sent me running despite the locked doors and armed guards. But instead, heat flooded through me, dark and dangerous and completely inappropriate given the circumstances. How? My voice came out breathier than intended. How do you send a message like that? A dark smile curved his lips. You let me worry about that, Angel. All you need to know is that by tomorrow morning, every family in this city will understand exactly what touching you costs. His phone rang. He answered it without looking away from me. Talk. Whatever the person on the other end said made his expression harden. How many? A pause. Handle it, no survivors. He hung up. They're moving faster than I expected. What does that mean? It means the Costas just sent men to your apartment building. His eyes were black ice. Looking for you. My heart stopped. My neighbors are safe. My men intercepted them in the parking garage. He pulled me against him, his arms iron bands around my waist. But this proves it, Emilia. Proves they know exactly where you are and exactly how much you matter. There's no going back now. No pretending this isn't real. I know. And I did. Finally, completely. I understood the depth of what I'd fallen into. Good. He tilted my chin up, his thumb tracing my lower lip. Because the war just started, and I need to know you're with me. I should have been terrified. Should have begged him to find another way. Any way that didn't involve blood and violence and declarations of war. Instead, I looked into his dark eyes and whispered, I'm with you. The kiss that followed tasted like danger and destiny and the death of my old life, and I kissed him back like I was ready to burn. Chapter 9. The Breaking Point. The kiss consumed me. Dante's hands tangled in my hair, tilting my head back as his mouth claimed mine with bruising intensity. This wasn't the careful exploration of before, wasn't the tentative discovery of what we could be. This was raw need and desperation, and the acknowledgement that we'd crossed a line we could never uncross. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard, and his dark eyes burned with something that made my knees weak. I need to go. His voice was rough. My men are waiting for orders. What are you going to do? What I should have done 5 years ago. He pressed one more kiss to my forehead, gentle despite the violence simmering beneath his skin. Stay here. Don't leave this room. Maria will bring you dinner. Dante, promise me, Amelia. His hands framed my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. Promise me you'll stay put, that you won't do anything reckless. The irony wasn't lost on me, the Mafia boss, asking me not to be reckless while he went off to do God knows what to send his message. But I saw the fear beneath his command, the memory of Chicago written in every line of tension in his body. I promise. He kissed me once more, hard and fast, then left. I heard the lock engage behind him, and suddenly the beautiful room felt like exactly what it was, a cage. I paced for what felt like hours, my mind spinning. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jennifer's face. Sweet, helpful Jennifer, who'd always seemed so genuine. Who'd brought me coffee during late nights at the office. Who'd smiled sympathetically when I'd complained about difficult clients. It had all been an act. Every moment, every conversation, every piece of seeming kindness calculated, designed to put me in position to be used. The rage that swept through me was unlike anything I'd ever felt. My phone buzzed. I grabbed it, hoping for an update from Dante. It was Jennifer. I know you're reading this. I know you're in his house, in his dead girlfriend's room, playing at being something you're not. You think he cares about you? You think you're special? You're just a replacement. A warm body to fill the Chicago-shaped hole in his cold black heart. My hands shook as I stared at the words. He'll get you killed, just like he got her killed. And when you're dead, he'll find another girl to obsess over, another nobody to drag into his world and destroy. That's what he does, Amelia. He destroys everything he touches. I should have ignored it, should have blocked the number and shown Dante when he returned. But anger made me reckless. At least he's honest about what he is, I typed back. You spent 3 years pretending to be my friend while you plotted to ruin my life. You slept with my boyfriend. You got me fired. All to use me as bait for a man I'd never met. You want to talk about monsters? Look in a mirror. The response came instantly. I did what I had to do for my family. For justice. Dante Valentino murdered my cousin in cold blood. Burned our businesses. Started a war that killed dozens of our men. And for what? A girl too stupid to know she was sleeping with the enemy? Chicago got what she deserved, and so will you. Ice flooded my veins. Chicago died because her father couldn't accept that she loved someone from a rival family. Dante tried to save her. That's what he told you? That's the story he's selling? Even through text, I could feel her venom. Chicago died because Dante made demands Marco couldn't accept. He wanted full territory access. Wanted the Costa family to bow to the Valentinos. Wanted everything in exchange for his precious girlfriend's life. When Marco refused to be extorted, Dante let her die out of spite, then used her death as an excuse to destroy us. No, that couldn't be right. Dante had been broken when he told me about Chicago. The pain in his eyes had been real, but doubt crept in, cold and insidious. You're lying, I sent. Am I? Ask him. Ask him what demands he made. Ask him why Marco chose his family's honor over his daughter's life. Ask him if he really tried to save her, or if he used her death as an excuse to start the war he'd always wanted. My phone slipped from my fingers. This was what Jennifer wanted to get in my head, to make me doubt Dante, to create cracks in whatever trust we'd built. I knew that. Logically, rationally, I understood I was being manipulated. But the seeds of doubt had been planted. The door opened, and Maria appeared with a tray. She took one look at my face and set it down quickly. "Miss Amelia? What's wrong?" "Chicago." The name fell from my lips before I could stop it. What really happened to her? Maria's expression shuddered. "That's not my story to tell. Please." I moved closer, desperate. Jennifer Costa just texted me. She said Dante made demands, that he tried to extort Marco, that he let Chicago die when her father wouldn't bow to him. Is that true? The older woman was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was gentle but firm. What happened between Dante and Marco Costa is complicated. There are versions of that story from both sides, and the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But I will tell you this. I watched that boy fall in love, watched him become someone different, someone softer, and I watched him shatter when she died. But did he make demands? Did he try to use her as leverage? He tried to save her life. Maria's eyes were sad. Whether his methods were right or wrong, whether pride got in the way of mercy, those are questions only he can answer. But his grief was real, Miss Amelia. His pain was real. And the hell he's lived in for 5 years is real. She left before I could ask anything else, taking the tray with her. My appetite had vanished anyway. I picked up my phone, stared at Jennifer's messages, at the doubt she'd so carefully cultivated, at the questions that now burned in my mind. Hours passed. Night fell beyond the windows I wasn't allowed to open, and still Dante didn't return. Finally, near midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway. The lock clicked. The door opened. Dante stood in the doorway, and my breath caught. There was blood on his shirt. Not much, but enough. His knuckles were split, already bruising, and his eyes, God, his eyes were empty. The eyes of a man who'd done terrible things and felt nothing about it. "It's done." His voice was flat. "The message has been sent. What did you do?" I whispered. What needed to be done? He moved into the room, and I caught the scent of gunpowder and copper. Every Costa operation in the city just lost a key player. Every warehouse, every front business, every lieutenant who ever said Marco's name with respect, they all know now what happens when they threaten what's mine. Horror and something darker twisted in my chest. "You killed them?" "Not all of them. Some will live to carry the message." He stripped off his shirt, revealing lean muscle marred by old scars. "But yes, Amelia, I killed some of them. Because that's who I am. That's what I do to protect what's mine." I should have been repulsed. Should have recoiled from the blood and the violence and the cold certainty in his voice. Instead, I found myself moving toward him. Jennifer texted me. I held up my phone, showed him the messages. She told me things. About Chicago. About demands you made. About Marco having to choose between his family's honor and his daughter's life. Something flickered in his eyes, pain, maybe, or guilt. "And you believe her?" "I don't know what to believe." My voice broke. "I don't know you, Dante. Not really. I've known you for 2 days, and in that time, my entire life has been turned upside down. So yes, I have questions. Yes, I have doubts. And yes, I need you to tell me the truth about what really happened." He stared at me for a long moment, war raging behind his eyes. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw. "You want the truth? Fine, I'll give you the truth." He stepped closer, looming over me. I made demands. I told Marco that if he wanted his daughter back alive, he'd give me 3 territories and remove 2 of his captains. I used the woman I loved as leverage because I thought it would work. I thought he'd choose her. My heart stopped. But he didn't. No. His voice was barely audible. He chose honor, and she died because I gambled wrong. The confession hung between us like a knife. So Jennifer was right. Tears burned behind my eyes. "You did get her killed." "Yes." He didn't flinch, didn't look away. "I did. And I've lived with that every day for 5 years. And now you know exactly who you're standing with. A man who'll sacrifice anything for power, even the woman he loves." The words should have sent me running. Instead, they made me understand. "Is that what you think?" I moved closer, my hand reaching for his bloodied knuckles. "That you haven't changed? That you're the same man you were 5 years ago?" "I am the same man." "No." I held his gaze. "The same man wouldn't have answered my text." Wouldn't have stationed men at 5 cafes just for the chance to see me. Wouldn't be standing here, covered in blood, after declaring war on an entire family to keep me safe. I pressed my palm against his chest, feeling his heart hammer beneath. You learned from her death, Dante. You're not making the same mistakes. How do you know? His voice was anguished. How do you know I won't get you killed too? Because this time, I whispered, you're not gambling. You're not making demands. You're just fighting. Fighting to keep me alive. Fighting to prove that what we have is worth protecting. I rose on my toes, my lips brushing his jaw. And that's the difference between love and leverage. His control snapped. He kissed me like a drowning man finding air, his hands fisting in my hair as he backed me toward the bed. And I kissed him back just as desperately, tasting blood and redemption, and the death of both our old lives. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to mine. I can't lose you. His voice cracked. I won't survive it twice. Then don't lose me. I pulled him down onto the bed, into the softness and the safety and the promise of something neither of us had dared hope for. Just hold me, and tomorrow we'll face whatever comes together. He held me like I was oxygen, and I held him back like he was home. Chapter 10. Aftermath. I woke to sunlight streaming through windows I still wasn't allowed to open and Dante's arm heavy across my waist. We hadn't made love. Despite the intensity, despite the desperation in our kisses, we'd simply held each other through the night. His body had been tense for hours, waiting for threats that never came, and I'd traced the scars on his chest until his breathing finally evened out. Now, in the soft morning light, he looked younger, vulnerable. The hard edges of the man who'd sent bloody messages to his enemies had softened into something almost peaceful. I carefully extracted myself from his embrace, needing to move, to think, to process everything that had happened. My phone sat on the nightstand where I'd left it, and against my better judgment, I picked it up. 17 missed calls from my mother, 3 voicemails, and 1 new text from an unknown number. Not Jennifer this time. You have 24 hours to walk away. Leave the Valentino estate, leave the city, and we'll forget you ever existed. Stay, and you become a legitimate target. This is your only warning. M. Costa. My blood turned to ice. Marco Costa. The man who'd killed his own daughter rather than bow to Dante's demands. The man who'd been hunting for revenge for 5 years. And he was giving me an out. Don't even think about it. I jumped. Dante was awake, propped on one elbow, watching me with those dark, knowing eyes. I wasn't. You were. He sat up, the sheet pooling at his waist, revealing the lean muscle and old violence written on his skin. I can see it in your face. Marco made you an offer, and you're wondering if taking it would end all this. I didn't deny it. He's giving me a choice. Walk away, and no one else has to die. That's not a choice. That's a trap. Dante stood, moving toward me with predatory grace. The moment you leave my protection, they'll take you. Use you. Probably kill you anyway. Marco Costa's word. Means nothing, Amelia. Never has. How do you know? Maybe he's tired of the bloodshed. Maybe he just wants this over. Because I know him. Dante took the phone from my hand, reading the message. His jaw tightened. This is psychological warfare. He's trying to make you doubt my ability to protect you. Trying to make you think running is safer than staying. It's not. How many more people have to die for me? My voice broke. How many more messages written in blood? I'm not worth a war, Dante. His hands framed my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. You're worth everything. Every drop of blood. Every burned building. Every body that hits the ground. You're worth it because you're mine. I'm not a possession. No, you're not. His voice gentled. You're the woman who sent a desperate text to a stranger and changed both our lives. You're the woman who looked at the monster I am and chose to stay anyway. You're the woman I'd burn this entire city down for. His thumb traced my lower lip. So no, you don't get to sacrifice yourself for peace. Not when Marco Costa's peace comes with your body in a ditch somewhere. Tears burned behind my eyes because he was right. Deep down, I knew he was right. But the weight of so much violence, so much death in my name, it was crushing. What happens now? Now we end this. He pulled away, reaching for his phone. Marco made a mistake by contacting you directly. It confirms what I already knew. He's desperate. His operations are crippled. His men are scared, and he's trying to salvage what he can by getting you away from me. So what do? We make him more desperate. A dark smile curved his lips. We force his hand. Make him come out of hiding and face me directly. Fear crawled up my spine. Using me as bait. No. His voice was firm. Using me as bait. But I need you visible. I need the city to see you at my side, wearing my protection like armor. I need everyone to know that touching you means dealing with me. You want to parade me around like some kind of trophy? I want to show them you're untouchable. He moved closer, his presence overwhelming. Tonight there's a gala. Neutral ground. All 4 families will be there, including the Costas. We're going to walk in together, and you're going to be the most beautiful woman in the room, and Marco is going to see exactly what he's up against. My heart hammered against my ribs. That's insane. That's walking into enemy territory. That's showing strength. His eyes burned with dark promise. The moment we show fear, the moment we hide, they win. But if we walk in there together, if I introduce you as mine in front of everyone, it becomes official. You're under my protection, sanctioned by all the families. Touching you would violate every code we have. And if Marco doesn't care about codes, then I kill him. He said it so simply, so matter-of-factly, in front of everyone, and the Costa family falls to whoever's strong enough to take it. I stared at him. This beautiful, terrifying man who spoke of murder like other people spoke of business deals. You've thought this through. I've thought of nothing else since the moment you told me about those texts. He pulled me against him, his arms steel bands around my waist. I won't let them take you, Emilia. I won't let them hurt you. And I won't let Marco Costa's ghost haunt us for another 5 years. Tonight, we end this. What if something goes wrong? Then you follow the plan. His voice dropped, deadly serious. At the first sign of trouble, my men get you out. No arguments, no heroics. You let them protect you while I handle Marco. I don't want you to die for me. I won't. He tilted my chin up, his lips brushing mine. Because I have too much to live for now. The kiss was soft, tender, completely at odds with the violence we were planning. When he pulled back, his eyes held a promise that made my breath catch. After tonight, you're free. Free to choose. Whether you want this life, whether you want me. But alive and free, Emilia. That's all that matters. And if I choose to stay? Something fierce and possessive flashed across his face. Then I spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret it. A knock at the door interrupted us. Maria's voice called through. Mr. Valentino? The stylist is here. Dante's smile was slow and dark. Time to get you ready for war, Angel. 3 hours later, I stood in front of a full-length mirror and barely recognized myself. The dress was midnight blue, almost black, with a neckline that plunged dangerously low and a slit that climbed halfway up my thigh. My hair had been styled in loose waves, my makeup dramatic dark eyes and blood-red lips. I looked dangerous, powerful, like someone who belonged at a Mafia boss's side. Perfect. Dante appeared behind me, devastatingly handsome in a black tuxedo. He placed something cold around my neck, a diamond necklace that probably cost more than my entire year's salary. Now everyone will know you're mine. I touched the diamonds, feeling their weight, their claim. I look like someone else. No, his lips brushed my ear. You look like yourself. Just finally seeing what I've seen from the beginning. And what's that? A queen. His hand settled possessively on my hip. My queen. The words should have sounded ridiculous, should have made me laugh or roll my eyes. Instead, they sent heat flooding through me and made something fierce and primal wake up in my chest. Maybe I was already too far gone. Maybe the girl who'd cried on a bathroom floor was dead, and this woman in diamonds and dangerous dress had taken her place. Or maybe I'd always been this person, just waiting for someone to see it. Are you ready? Dante asked, offering his arm. I looked at myself one more time at the woman who'd chosen to stay, who'd kissed a monster and found a man, who was about to walk into a room full of criminals and dare them to touch her. I'm ready. We descended the staircase together, and waiting at the bottom were a dozen men in dark suits, Dante's personal guard. They fell into formation around us as we walked outside, where a sleek black limousine waited. This was really happening. I was going to a Mafia gala on the arm of Dante Valentino. I was going to stand in front of Marco Costa and dare him to make good on his threats. I was going to risk everything on the belief that the man beside me could keep me safe. As the limousine pulled through the gates, Dante's hand found mine in the darkness. Whatever happens tonight, he murmured, know that I love you. I've loved you since that desperate text. since your broken words made me feel something I thought had died with Chicago. You saved me, Amelia. Let me save you back. Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them away. My makeup was too perfect to ruin now. I love you too, I whispered. God help me, I do. His kiss was gentle, reverent, like a prayer before battle. Then the limousine stopped. The door opened, and cameras flashed. The war had begun. Chapter 11. Into the Lion's Den. The Grand Bellamy Hotel was stunning, all marble columns and crystal chandeliers, with a red carpet leading to doors flanked by men in tuxedos who were clearly more than decorative staff. Their eyes tracked every guest with professional precision, and I knew without being told that they were armed. Dante stepped out first, then turned to offer his hand. The moment my heels touched the pavement, a dozen camera flashes went off. Press. Legitimate press, mixed with people who documented the underworld, creating a permanent record of who attended these events and who they arrived with. I was being photographed on Dante Valentino's arm. There was no taking it back now. Smile, Angel, he murmured against my ear. Show them you're not afraid. I wasn't sure that was possible, but I lifted my chin and let a small smile curve my lips. Confident, unbothered, like I attended Mafia galas every weekend. Dante's hand settled on my lower back, possessive, claiming as he guided me up the steps. Every eye in the vicinity tracked our movement. I heard whispers, felt the weight of speculation and surprise. Dante Valentino, who hadn't brought a date to anything in 5 years, was here with a woman no one recognized. Inside, the ballroom took my breath away. It was massive, with soaring ceilings painted in gold leaf and windows overlooking the city lights. Round tables draped in white linen surrounded a central dance floor, and a string quartet played soft classical music from a raised platform. Waitstaff circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres, moving between clusters of people who wore wealth and power like second skins. Stay close to me, Dante said quietly. Don't accept drinks from anyone else. Don't wander off, and if someone tries to separate us, you make a scene. Understood? Understood. We moved into the crowd, and it parted like water. People nodded respectfully to Dante, their eyes curious and wary as they slid to me. I recognized the assessment, trying to figure out who I was, why I mattered, whether I was a threat or an opportunity. Dante. A man in his 60s approached, silver-haired and elegant. I see you've brought a guest. Antonio. Dante's voice was neutral, controlled. This is Amelia. Amelia, Antonio Moretti, the man who'd lost his daughter, the one Dante said would use me as leverage without hesitation. I offered my hand, and Antonio took it, his grip gentle but his eyes assessing. A pleasure, my dear. His accent was thick. Old world. Any woman who captures Dante's attention must be extraordinary. She is, Dante said simply, pulling me closer. Antonio's smile didn't reach his eyes. I hope you know what you're getting into, young lady. This world, it's not kind to outsiders. I'm learning that, I replied, keeping my voice steady despite my racing heart. Good. Antonio nodded. Learning is the first step to survival. He turned back to Dante. We should talk. Later. About territories. Later, Dante agreed. As Antonio moved away, I released a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. He seems dangerous. He is. Dante accepted 2 glasses of champagne from a passing waiter, handing me one. Don't let the charm fool you. Antonio Moretti didn't build his empire through kindness. And the others? The Russos? Over there. Dante nodded subtly toward a group near the windows. Gabriele Russo. Mid-40s, ambitious, smart. He's been trying to expand into technology money laundering through cryptocurrency, mostly. His wife, Alessandra, is the real power behind the throne. Former lawyer. Knows every loophole in existence. I studied them covertly. Gabriele was handsome in a cold, calculating way, while Alessandra was stunning, all sharp angles and sharper intelligence in her eyes. And the Costas? I almost didn't want to ask. Dante's jaw tightened. Not here yet. Marco likes to make an entrance. We circulated through the room, Dante introducing me to various people whose names and titles blurred together. Everyone was polite, curious, carefully neutral, testing the waters, trying to figure out what my presence meant for the delicate balance of power in the city. Then the whispers changed, grew louder, more urgent. I felt Dante tense beside me a split second before I heard the voice. Well, Dante Valentino, I heard rumors you'd finally crawled out of your cave. The crowd parted, and there he was. Marco Costa was smaller than I'd expected, maybe 5 to 9, stocky, with iron-gray hair and eyes like chips of ice. But the power that radiated from him was unmistakable. Men twice his size moved out of his way, and the respect or fear in their faces was absolute. Behind him walked Jennifer, stunning in an emerald dress, her smile venomous when her eyes landed on me. And next to her, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else, was Marcus. My ex-boyfriend, the man who'd cheated on me, who'd helped orchestrate my downfall, who I'd thought was just a weak, selfish coward. He was part of this. Part of them. Marcus? The word escaped before I could stop it. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Dante's hand tightened on my waist, grounding me. Marco, I see you brought your pets. Family, Marco corrected, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent ballroom. Not that you'd understand the concept anymore. Tell me, Dante, does this one know what happened to the last girl you dragged into our world? The air crystallized. Every person in the room watched, waiting to see how Dante would respond to such a direct challenge. She knows everything. Dante's voice was ice. Unlike Chicago, Amelia made her choice with full knowledge of what it meant. And unlike your daughter, she has someone willing to protect her properly. The insult landed like a physical blow. Marco's face went red, his hands curling into fists. You dare. I dare. Dante stepped forward, putting himself between Marco and me. I dare because you violated our treaty. You planted operatives in civilian companies. You orchestrated harassment campaigns against an innocent woman. You threatened someone under my protection. So yes, Marco, I dare. She's not under your protection. Marco's smile was cruel. She's bait, a replacement for what you lost. And when she realizes that, when she understands she's just a ghost you're trying to resurrect, she'll run. They always do. Try me. I stepped out from behind Dante, my voice ringing clear despite my fear. You want to test whether I'm brave enough to stay? Whether I'm strong enough to survive this world? Then test me, Mr. Costa. But know that I've already seen the worst Dante has to offer, and I chose him anyway. Can Marcus say the same about you? The gasps were audible. You didn't challenge Marco Costa. You didn't speak to him like that. Especially not if you were nobody, a civilian, an outsider, a girl who'd stumbled into this world by accident. But I was done being afraid, done being a pawn. If I was going to be in this world, I was going to stand in it on my own terms. Marco stared at me, his eyes calculating. Then, slowly, he smiled. You've got fire. I respect that. Chicago had fire too. Once. Before Dante extinguished it. Chicago had fire until you killed her. I shot back. Don't rewrite history just because you're ashamed of what you did to your own daughter. The silence was deafening. Marco's smile vanished. You know nothing about my daughter. I know she loved someone and you murdered her for it. My voice didn't shake. I know Dante has spent 5 years in hell because of what you did. And I know that if you come after me, if you try to use me the way you wanted to use her, you'll start a war you can't win. Is that a threat? It's a promise. I moved closer to Dante, felt his arm come around me, protective, possessive. I'm not Chicago. I'm not going to break. And I'm not going anywhere. For a long moment, Marco just stared at me. Then he laughed short, sharp, devoid of humor. We'll see, Miss Amelia. We'll see how long that fire lasts when reality sets in. He turned and walked away, Jennifer and Marcus trailing behind him. The crowd remained frozen, shocked by what they'd witnessed. Dante pulled me close, his lips at my ear. That was either the bravest or stupidest thing you've ever done. Probably both, I admitted, my legs suddenly shaking. You just declared war on Marco Costa in front of every family in the city. I know. There's no taking it back now. No pretending you're just some innocent bystander. Good. I looked up at him, saw the pride and fear and love burning in his dark eyes. I'm tired of pretending. His kiss was brief but fierce. When he pulled back, his voice was rough. Then let's finish this. Dance with me, Amelia. Show them all that you're exactly where you want to be. He led me to the dance floor, and as the quartet began a waltz, his arms came around me. We moved together, and I felt every eye in the room watching, judging, speculating. Let them watch. Let them see that I wasn't afraid, that I chose this, that I chose him. I meant what I said, I whispered as we turned. I'm not going anywhere. I know. His hand tightened on my waist. That's what terrifies me. Why? Because now I have everything to lose. His eyes held mine, dark and intense, and Marco knows it. The music swelled around us, beautiful and haunting, and I let myself believe just for this moment that love could be stronger than violence, that we could survive what was coming, that the story of Dante and Emilia could end differently than the story of Dante and Chicago. But even as I believed it, even as I let myself hope, I felt the weight of eyes on my back, and I knew the real battle was just beginning. Chapter 12. The Reckoning. The rest of the gala passed in a blur of champagne and carefully worded conversations. Every family representative made a point of speaking with us, their words polite but their eyes calculating. I'd become a chess piece in a game I barely understood, and everyone was trying to figure out how to use me. By the time we left, near midnight, my face hurt from smiling, and my feet ached from heels I wasn't used to wearing. But I'd survived. I'd stood beside Dante Valentino in front of the entire criminal underworld and declared myself his. The limousine was silent on the drive back. Dante stared out the window, his jaw tight, his body radiating tension. I wanted to reach for him, to ask what he was thinking, but something in his posture kept me silent. We were almost to the estate when his phone rang. He answered without checking the caller ID. Talk. Whatever the person said made his expression go cold. When? A pause. How many? Another pause. Longer this time. I'm 10 minutes out. Lock it down. No one gets in or out. He ended the call and leaned forward, speaking to the driver. Faster. What's wrong? Fear crept up my spine. The estate's been breached. His voice was flat, controlled, but I heard the rage simmering beneath. Someone got past the first perimeter. My men stopped them before they reached the house, but what? He finally looked at me, and the fury in his eyes made my breath catch. They were carrying accelerant. They weren't here to kidnap you, Emilia. They were here to burn down my house with you inside it. The world tilted. Who? Who do you think? He pulled out his phone again, typing rapidly. Marco just declared open war. No more games, no more subtle moves. He wants you dead, and he doesn't care about treaties or codes anymore. Maybe I should leave. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. If I'm gone, if I disappear, then he wins. Dante grabbed my hand, his grip almost painful. And you die anyway. You think he'll let you walk away now? After what you said to him? After you humiliated him in front of every family in the city? You're a loose end, Emilia. And Marco Costa doesn't leave loose ends. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I blinked them back. I'd chosen this. I'd stood on that dance floor and declared war. No crying now. The limousine pulled through the gates reinforced now, with additional guards visible in the shadows. The house blazed with lights, and armed men patrolled every visible entrance. We'd left a mansion. We'd returned to a fortress. Dante helped me out, and immediately, a man approached. Young, maybe 30, with a cut on his forehead and blood on his sleeve. Boss! 3 men breached the east perimeter. We took down 2. The third got away, but we wounded him. He won't get far. Where are the bodies? Secured. Waiting for your orders. Get them to the incinerator. No traces. Dante's voice was mechanical, giving orders like he'd done this 1,000 times. Double the guard. I want eyes on every inch of this property. And find that third man. I don't care if you have to search every gutter in the city. Find him. Yes, boss. The man hurried away, and Dante turned to me. Inside. Now. I followed him through the house, up the stairs, back to the room that had become my cage. Once inside, he locked the door and immediately began pacing, his control finally cracking. This is my fault. He ran his hands through his hair, disheveling it. I should have anticipated this. Should have known Marco would escalate. You couldn't have known. I should have. His voice cracked like a whip. This is what I do, Emilia. I anticipate threats. I stay 3 steps ahead. And I got complacent. I let myself believe that showing strength at the gala would be enough. That Marco would back down. But he doesn't back down. He never has. I moved toward him, but he held up a hand, stopping me. Don't try to comfort me. Don't tell me it's not my fault. Because it is. His dark eyes were anguished. Just like Chicago. Just like every person who's ever gotten hurt because they were close to me. This is who I am, Emilia. This is what loving me means. Constant danger. Constant fear. Men with accelerant trying to burn you alive while you sleep. Stop. I crossed the distance between us, grabbing his face and forcing him to look at me. Stop comparing me to her. Stop assuming I'm going to break. I knew what I was walking into tonight. I knew what challenging Marco would mean, and I did it anyway. You shouldn't have had to. His voice was raw. You should be living a normal life. Dating normal men, working normal jobs, not standing in a mafia boss's bedroom while he explains why people want to kill you. But I don't want that life anymore. The truth of it hit me as I said it. That life was safe and boring and slowly suffocating me. Yes, this is terrifying. Yes, I'm scared. But I'm also more alive than I've ever been. I matter here. I have purpose. And I have you. For how long? He pulled away from my touch, creating distance. How long before Marco gets lucky? Before someone breaches our defenses when I'm not here? Before you end up like Chicago dead because I couldn't protect you? Then teach me to protect myself. The idea formed as I spoke. Stop treating me like I'm fragile. Stop locking me in rooms and surrounding me with guards. Teach me how to survive in your world. He stared at me like I'd suggested jumping off a cliff. You want me to what? Teach me. I moved closer, my voice firm. How to shoot, how to fight, how to spot threats. You said I'm not a prisoner, so stop treating me like one. Make me your partner instead of your burden. Amelia, you fell for Chicago because she was soft, because she was everything your world wasn't. I held his gaze. But I'm not her. I'm not soft. I'm angry and scared and so far out of my depth I can't see the surface anymore. But I'm still here, still standing. So either trust me to be strong enough for this, or let me go. Silence stretched between us, heavy with everything unsaid. Then, slowly, Dante's expression shifted. The anguish faded, replaced by something else: consideration. Maybe. Respect. You're serious. Completely. You understand what you're asking. Learning to survive in my world means learning to kill, to make impossible choices, to live with blood on your hands. I understand. He studied me for a long moment, and I saw the exact instant he made his decision. Fine. Tomorrow, training starts. But tonight he crossed to me in 2 strides, pulling me against him. Tonight, I need to know you're safe, that you're here, that you're mine. His kiss was desperate, consuming, tasting of fear and possession, and something darker. I kissed him back with equal fervor, pouring every ounce of my conviction into it, showing him I meant what I said, that I wasn't going anywhere. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. I love you, he whispered. God help me. I love you more than I've ever loved anything, and that terrifies me. I know. I traced the line of his jaw, feeling stubble rough against my fingers. But fear doesn't mean we stop fighting. It means we fight harder. You sound like a mobster's wife already. There was a hint of dark humor in his voice. Is that what I am? I pulled back enough to meet his eyes. Your wife? Not yet. His thumb traced my lower lip. But you will be. When this is over, when you're safe, I'm going to marry you properly. Give you the choice in a church, not a war zone. But make no mistake, Amelia, you're mine, and I'm yours. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Together, I agreed. He kissed me again, softer this time, and then guided me toward the bed. We lay down fully clothed, his arms wrapped around me like he could shield me from the world through sheer will alone. Sleep, he murmured against my hair. Tomorrow everything changes. I closed my eyes, feeling his heartbeat steady against my back. Outside, I heard footsteps, guards patrolling, keeping watch. Inside, I felt the weight of the choice I'd made settling over me like a cloak. I'd declared war on Marco Costa. I'd chosen Dante's world over safety. And tomorrow, I'd start learning how to survive in it. But tonight, wrapped in the arms of the man I loved, I let myself believe we could win, that this story could have a different ending, that love could be stronger than violence, and hope could survive in the darkness. I was almost asleep when Dante's phone buzzed. He tensed behind me, then carefully extracted himself to check it. The curse that fell from his lips was vicious. What? I sat up, fear spiking through me. He showed me the screen. A photo. Grainy, taken from a distance, but clear enough. It was us, leaving the gala, and in the corner, barely visible, was a red laser dot, aimed directly at my head. They had a sniper. Dante's voice was dead calm, the kind of calm that preceded violence. They could, have killed you at any moment tonight. But they didn't. Why not? His eyes met mine, dark and knowing. Because Marco doesn't want you dead yet. He wants you terrified. He wants you to break, to run, to prove him right about you being weak. Then he's going to be disappointed. I kept my voice steady despite the ice flooding my veins. Because I'm not running, and I'm not breaking. Dante stared at me for a long moment. Then he pulled me back into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. Tomorrow, he whispered against my hair. The war begins in earnest, and by the time it's over, Marco Costa will regret the day he ever heard your name. I believed him. God help me, I believed him. Chapter 13. Queen of Ashes. 3 weeks had changed everything. I stood in Dante's private training room, gun steady in my hands, and put 3 bullets through the center mass of the target 50 feet away. My instructor, a former Special Forces operator named Victor, nodded approvingly. Better. Your grouping is tighter. He moved closer, adjusting my stance slightly. But you're still thinking too much. In a real situation, you won't have time to aim. It needs to be instinct. Again, I said, releasing the empty magazine. I'd spent every morning for 3 weeks learning to shoot, to fight, to think like someone who lived in Dante's world. My knuckles were bruised from hand-to-hand combat training. My shoulders ached from weapons practice. And my mind had been rewired to see threats everywhere, to calculate exits and vulnerabilities and potential attacks. I wasn't the same woman who'd cried on a bathroom floor a month ago. That woman had been soft, breakable. This woman had edges sharp enough to draw blood. The door opened, and Dante entered. He watched me fire another round, his expression unreadable. "We need to talk," he said when I'd finished. Victor took the hint and left. Dante waited until the door closed before speaking. Marco made contact. He wants to meet. My heart jumped. When? Tonight. Neutral ground. Just him and me. His jaw tightened. He says it's time to end this. It's a trap. Probably. He moved closer, his hand settling on my waist. But it's also an opportunity. Marco's been hemorrhaging resources for weeks. His operations are crippled, his men are defecting, and the other families are starting to circle. He's desperate, and desperate men make mistakes. Or desperate men do desperate things. I set down the gun, turning to face him fully. What if he just wants to draw you out? Kill you and take everything? Then you become the head of the Valentino family. He said it so calmly, like we were discussing dinner plans. Everything's been arranged. My will, my assets, my territories, they all pass to you if I die. Dante, listen to me. His hands framed my face. I've spent 3 weeks preparing for this. Every contingency, every possibility. If something happens to me tonight, you're protected. Antonio Moretti has agreed to honor the transition. The Russos will fall in line, and the Costas, what's left of them, won't dare touch you without starting a war they can't win. I don't want your empire. My voice cracked. I want you. I know. He pressed his forehead to mine. But I need you to be ready. Just in case. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. I'm coming. I pulled back, my voice firm. You said you'd make me your partner, not your burden. So let me be your partner. Let me stand beside you when you face him. Emilia, if something goes wrong, then we go down together. I held his gaze. I didn't survive 3 weeks of hell just to hide while you risk your life. We're in this together, remember? So either I come with you, or we call the whole thing off. He stared at me, war raging behind his eyes. Finally, he exhaled roughly. You'll wear a vest. You'll stay behind me, and if I tell you to run, you run. No arguments. Deal. And Emilia? His voice dropped, deadly serious. If Marco tries anything, if this goes bad, you don't hesitate. You use everything I've taught you, and you survive. Promise me. I promise. He kissed me then, hard and desperate, like he was trying to memorize the taste of me. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark with emotion. I love you. Whatever happens tonight, know that. I love you too. I touched his face, tracing the sharp line of his jaw. Now let's go finish this. The meeting was set for midnight at the old street Sebastian's church, abandoned for decades. Technically neutral ground. Dante's convoy arrived first. 6 SUVs carrying enough firepower to start a small war. I wore the promised vest under a black jacket, with a gun holstered at my hip that I'd practiced drawing 1,000 times. The church loomed against the night sky, all Gothic arches and broken stained glass. Dante's men secured the perimeter while we waited inside, and I tried not to think about how many ways this could go wrong. At 5 past midnight, Marco Costa arrived. He came alone or appeared to walking through the main doors with his hands visible and empty. But I'd learned enough to know that alone didn't mean unarmed or unprotected. Snipers could be positioned anywhere. His men could be waiting in the shadows. "Dante," Marco's voice echoed in the empty church. "You actually came. You asked for a meeting." Dante's hand rested on my lower back, keeping me slightly behind him. "Make it quick, Marco. I have better things to do than waste time with a dead man walking." Marco's eyes slid to me, and his smile was cruel. "Still playing with your toy, I see. Tell me, Miss Amelia, how many people have died for you now? 20? 30? Have you been keeping count? Have you?" I stepped out from behind Dante, my voice steady. "How many of your own men have you lost because you can't accept that your daughter loved someone you hated? How many more will die before you admit this was never about territory or the power, it was about your pride?" "My pride?" Marco's voice rose. "My daughter betrayed everything I built, everything I sacrificed. And for what? For him?" He gestured at Dante with contempt. "A man who used her as leverage, who gambled with her life, who got her killed and then pretended to mourn?" "I did mourn." Dante's voice was cold. "I've mourned for 5 years. But you're right about one thing, I made mistakes with Chicago. I treated her like a pawn instead of a person. I thought I could negotiate, make deals, use her as currency." He paused. "But I learned. And I won't make the same mistakes with Amelia." "Is that what you think?" Marco laughed bitterly. "You think you've changed? You think love makes you a better man? You're still the same ruthless bastard who watched my daughter die rather than bow to my terms." "No." Dante's voice was quiet but absolute. "I watched your daughter die because you chose honor over her life, because you couldn't accept that she loved me. That's on you, Marco. Not me." The silence that followed was deafening. Marco's hand moved toward his jacket, and instantly, red laser dots appeared on his chest. Dante's men, positioned throughout the church, all with clear shots. "Don't." Dante's voice was soft. "We both know how this ends if you draw that weapon." Marco's hand stilled. "So what now? You kill me here? In front of God and everyone?" "No." Dante stepped forward. "I offer you peace, real peace, not the uneasy truce we've had for 5 years. You leave Amelia alone. You stop the attacks, the surveillance, the games. And in return, I give you back your territories. The ones I took after Chicago died. All of them." Marco's eyes widened. "You're serious?" "Completely." Dante's voice was steady. "I don't want your empire, Marco. I never did. I wanted justice for Chicago, and I got it. Now I want to build something different. Something that doesn't require constant war and bloodshed, but that only works if you accept the terms. And if I refuse, then we finish this tonight." Dante's expression went cold. "My men have orders. The moment you reject peace, they open fire. You die. Your remaining lieutenants die, and I absorb what's left of the Costa family into mine. Your legacy ends here, in this church, because you were too proud to accept mercy." Marco stared at him, calculation warring with rage in his eyes. Finally he spoke. "Why? Why offer peace now after everything?" Dante glanced at me, and something soft flickered across his face. "Because Amelia taught me that some things are worth more than revenge, that holding on to anger poisons everything it touches, and because I'm tired, Marco, tired of war, tired of counting bodies, tired of living in the past. So she's made you weak." Marco's voice dripped with contempt. "No." I stepped forward, standing beside Dante instead of behind him. "He's made me strong. Strong enough to tell you that this ends tonight, one way or another. You can accept peace and rebuild what you've lost, or you can die here clutching your pride. Your choice." Marco looked between us, and for the first time, I saw something other than hatred in his eyes. Weariness, maybe. Recognition that the war had cost him too. "My daughter loved you," he said finally, his voice rough. "I never understood why, but standing here, seeing you with her," he gestured to me. "Maybe I do now. Maybe Chicago saw something in you I couldn't." "She did," Dante said quietly. "She saw the man I could become, I just wasn't ready to be him yet. Another long silence. Then Marco extended his hand. Peace. Real peace. But if anyone in your organization ever touches my family again, they won't, Dante said, taking his hand. You have my word. They shook, and I felt the tension in the church dissolve like morning mist. It wasn't forgiveness, it was something more practical, more realistic. Two exhausted men choosing survival over vengeance. Marco turned to me. You're braver than my daughter was, or more foolish. Time will tell which. Probably both, I admitted. Something almost like respect flickered in his eyes. Then he turned and walked out of the church, leaving us standing in the ruins of a war neither side had truly won. Dante pulled me against him the moment Marco disappeared, his arms steel bands around my waist. It's over. It's actually over. Is it? I looked up at him. Will he keep his word? He will. Marco Costa is many things, but he's not an oath-breaker. Not when it's given in a church. Dante's expression softened. You were incredible. Standing up to him like that, offering terms instead of just threatening violence. I learned from the best. I smiled. A very wise mobster once told me that strength isn't always about firepower. Sometimes it's about knowing when to offer peace. I never said that. No, but you showed me. I touched his face. So what happens now? Do we just go back to the estate and pretend everything's normal? Nothing about us will ever be normal. His smile was slow and devastating. But yes, we go home. We rebuild. We create something better than what came before. He paused. And I marry you. Properly. In a church without snipers and peace treaties. My heart stopped. Is that a proposal? It's a promise. He lowered himself to one knee right there in the abandoned church, pulling out a ring I hadn't known he was carrying. Amelia, you saved me. You walked into my darkness and refused to run. You stood beside me during war and taught me there could be peace. I don't deserve you, but I'm selfish enough to want you anyway. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down my face as I nodded. Yes. God, yes. He slipped the ring on my finger, a simple band of platinum and diamonds that caught the moonlight streaming through broken windows. Then he stood and kissed me like we had all the time in the world. Like wars and vengeance and bloodshed were finally behind us. When we left, the church, his men were waiting. And as our convoy pulled away, I looked back one last time at the place where everything had changed, where Dante Valentino had chosen peace over revenge, where I'd become something more than a victim or a pawn, where we'd built the foundation for something new. 3 months later, I stood in a different church, one with intact stained glass and flowers, and people who'd come to celebrate rather than negotiate. Maria cried through the entire ceremony. Antonio Moretti gave me away, claiming he'd always wanted a daughter. Even the Russos sent an elaborate gift. And when Dante kissed me at the altar, sealing our vows, I knew I'd finally found where I belonged. Not in the world I'd left behind, with its safety and mediocrity and slow suffocation, but here, in the dangerous, beautiful, impossible life I'd built with the man I loved. The Mafia boss who'd answered a desperate text at 2 a.m. The monster who'd become my salvation. The king who'd made me his queen. And together, we ruled not through fear and violence, but through the kind of power that only comes from surviving hell and choosing love anyway. The kind of power that makes empires. The kind of power that changes everything.